Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the High Desert Garden. Today I was just kind of out looking around at the tomatoes, and I recalled a video, one of the first videos that I made for this channel. I had actually on the corner of my patio here created a raised bed before I had the garden out here actually made up. So I actually created a mini greenhouse on the patio here. If you remember, I used to have a covered patio, and it just made it easy to have a little raised bed with a greenhouse right here. And I made a video on how to plant tomato plants, and I was pretty confident that I was doing things that would work because I had watched a lot of other gardeners have success with the methods that I showed you guys. The mistake I made in that video is I tend to be transparent, and I let people know that that I was a new gardener. And so I got a lot of nasty comments on that video of people saying, you know, that I wasn't going to be successful because I was a new gardener or something like that. Or they said that they instantly stopped watching the video when I indicated that I was a new gardener. But if they had been following the channel, they would have seen how successful those tomatoes were. You can actually go back and watch my old videos and see how those tomatoes did. Now I'm going to take you out in the garden, out to the greenhouse, and I'm going to show you out here how well the tomatoes are doing. Now, last time I showed you the plants, I showed you that we had some tomatoes growing, and we have some ripening up now. So it looks like I might get some ripe tomatoes before we have to move. Now over here we have a ginormous, this is one of those fused, where the blossoms fuse together and you get one gigantic tomato. It's usually what people like to see when they're trying to grow record-breaking size tomatoes. Those aren't the tomatoes I like. I don't like the cat face tomatoes. I like nice, clean, whole tomatoes. We've actually had a lot of the sun gold tomatoes ripening up. My son's been eating most of these, so we've picked the ripe ones, the ones that are completely ripe. Back over here we have a nice big beefsteak that's starting to ripen up. Now these tomatoes, one of the criticisms that I received in my old video on how to plant tomatoes is I had dug down really deep, and some people were joking around and saying, "Oh, I thought this was a video about digging to China." That is how you have successful large tomato plants like this, especially if you want tomatoes that don't get blossom end rot, where the bottom of your tomatoes rot out. You want them to have access to consistent watering, and so that's what you accomplish by planting them deep. And so these are planted deep. Look over here. This is a humongous tomato. And if you want to minimize the cracking that you can get, I have a little bit of cracking around the top of these tomatoes, but you'll see no blossom end rot. Okay, now there's a little bit of a scab on the bottom of that tomato, but that's not blossom end rot. So that's what you can accomplish by planting your tomatoes deep. Now here's another cat-faced. You can see the fused blossoms. These are actually two tomatoes that grow together, and you get the cat facing and the scarring. Still perfectly good for eating. They just don't look good. And you can have other issues with them, like you know, they can get mold growing in where you have the scarring and the cat facing, and so I generally don't prefer those tomatoes like that. Some people like them because they're like, oh, you can get big tomatoes, and I tend to go more for quality, and even if I get more tomatoes but they're smaller, I actually prefer that. They're actually easier to cook with, easier to deal with, and yeah, that's how I grow them. You know, like I said, planting them deep, that way they have consistent water. Also, the deep soil, the native soil, is rich in minerals. So, you know, I have my nice, soft, fluffy garden soil on top, and it just really works well. And so I just wanted to be able to come out here and show you guys and make another video before we move away from the home and the garden here. So things are going pretty well for us so far. We are getting all packed up inside, getting rid of a lot of stuff that we don't need. Those of you who have moved several times, you probably know how that is. But we're really excited to have sold the house and to be able to move on to other things. I do have a lot of videos coming up on educational stuff. Some of the videos that I made that were really good as far as how to grow plants to their genetic potential and just get the best out of your plants. Those videos got some views, but they didn't really get as many views as I'd like to see, because there's really good information in those old videos on growing plants to their genetic potential. The different ways that you accomplish that with the different hormones in the soil, and different ways you can get these hormones in the soil, and etc. As far as the growth hormones and bacteria and stuff like that. So there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet, and I'm not saying that other gardening methods don't work, because there are certain people who grow with chemicals and do a mix of things and have success. But what I like to teach here on this channel is that you can have success affordably, organically, without having to buy chemicals and a whole lot of extra things. You can make your own compost. Now, have I purchased potting soil and compost? And absolutely I have. But I minimize the amount that I have to purchase by doing things like my own worm composting, and you know, using the worm composting and the worm castings in my garden. So there will be a lot more videos, especially since I should have, once we get moved, I should have a lot more time. I've put a lot of time into various projects around the home. One of my most recent projects, of course, being this little garden shed that I made. And all of these things, you know, just take time. All of these little projects that you do around the home. And what this will do is it'll give me some time to kind of just wind down, relax for a bit, make some videos for you guys. And I will be keeping my eyes open for a good deal on some property, and we may find a good deal soon, we may not. Like I said, we might end up waiting for that correction in the market that I was talking about. But anyhow, I hope you guys are learning from watching what we've been doing on the channel here. I hope your gardens are successful and that you're able to grow some of your food. I really am gonna miss being able to grow some of my food. I still will be. You'll have to follow the channel to see how I'm still gonna be producing food without an outdoor garden. That's gonna be interesting. I won't be able to produce quite the amounts of food that I've been, but I will be producing. And in the meantime, waiting for that correction in the market, waiting to find another nice property. And if we do that, it would be a great opportunity to make some videos on, you know, maybe even building a home on a property, building a homestead, and possibly off-grid. You know, not too far off-grid, because we can't be too far away from resources that, you know, other people in the family need. But anyhow, I hope you guys are doing well. As always, I want to encourage you to grow organic, eat organic, so you can be organic.